Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So today we're talking about being happy, because everybody wants to be happy. The desire to be happy is in each and every one of us. It is something we all have and something that we all seek and all pursue. I truly believe that happiness is a universal wish and desire of all humanity. How many people agree with that? Everybody wants to be happy. You know, I was searching online. I found this internet quote attributed to Abraham Lincoln, who said, "Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." Found this other quote by Lincoln. It said, and he said, "The problem with internet quotes is that you just can't depend on their accuracy." So let's go back to the first one. Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. How many people would agree with that? And so it begs the question, how happy have you made up your mind to be today? How happy are you making up your mind to be right now? And for whatever level of happy you are experiencing right now, how many people know you could choose or make up your mind to be a little happier than you currently are? You know, it's interesting. If we have this power to choose and make up our mind to be how happy we are, it's an important thing to ask ourselves the question is, what is happiness? What is this thing we all want and desire called happiness? Sometimes you need to figure out what it's not before you figure out what it is with some things. And here are some things that happiness is not. Happiness is not feeling good all the time. There are highs and lows, ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys in this life. There are tribulations and trials, as well as all sorts of great mountaintop experiences. Second thing that happiness isn't being rich. Although I know many people want to test that theory and prove it wrong. And the fact is, happiness and being wealthy is not synonymous, but it's also not mutually exclusive either. Jim Carrey once said, "I wish everyone in the world could be rich and famous so you can see for yourself that that's not the answer." And the third thing that happiness is not a final destination. You know, I get to a point and you're happy and then you just stay at that level of happy. You know, happiness is really a combination of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. It is really about the level of satisfaction, the level of meaning and appreciation and an enjoyment of the moments. And it is an overall feeling of more positive emotions than negative emotions. Because there are going to be mood changes, highs and lows, but it's about an overall feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction and experiencing positive emotions. You know what scientists say that is the single greatest factor that influences the level of happiness in our lives? Anybody want to guess? Here's what it is. Genetics. Most of us are born the way we're born. And we're born, some people are born happy and perky and wake up that way. And some people are born, they're just a little quieter and they might be a little more skeptical and pessimistic. Some people are born Tiggers. Some people are born Eeyores. It's just kind of just how it is. You know, we come in with some certain propensity for this or that. It's not bad, worse, or wrong. It's just how it is. People come in different ways, shapes, and have different levels of happy. Let's think of it this way, like weight. If you eat normal, you have your version of a normal level of what weight you want to weigh. And if you feel like kicking it up a notch and going on a diet and exercise, you can get to a weight that feels better and healthier for you. But if you don't stick with it, you'll get back to whatever your normal is. So we have a normal, not just of natural weight that we can adjust, but we have that normal. And then same thing with happy. We have some normal level, but we can also do some things to actually increase our level and move higher, choose to be happy. But it does take some work. It takes some action. It takes some intention. But it's good to know that we have influence and that we can choose to be happy or happier. So today we're wrapping up our 3-week series on Broadway musical songs. You know, last year, Craig challenged me because I do a Songs of Life series where I pick my own songs, Beatles songs, Eagles songs, whatever songs, and try to talk about it. And I always just pick it myself. He said, hey, how about if we do musicals and I choose it for you? And so I said, okay, 100% yes. Whatever song you pick, even though I don't know it, like it, or anything, my answer will be yes. So I really have enjoyed this experience of someone giving me a talk and saying, here a song, and here. And so the first one we did was The Impossible Dream from Mana La Mancha, week 1. Then we did one called And the World Goes Round from a play that Liza Minnelli was in. And today we're going to do another Liza Minnelli, and it is from a 1965 production called Flora, The Red Menace. She actually won a Tony for it. And it's set in 1935 around the Depression. She's a fashion designer, and it's tough to get a job. She got a job in a department store. And then she also, on the side, is a part of a co-op of bohemian artists. And she meets a guy named Harry, and he's a communist and tries to induct her into communism. And so she loves him. But communism kind of conflicts with her job. They don't believe in unions and so on and so forth. So she's in love, but being with this guy and his desire for communism is conflicting with her job and her life. And she's really, really torn. You know, do you choose, politics over love? Do you choose a relationship over a job? And she's really, really torn about it. In the end, she ends up making the decision to let go of the relationship and to stick with her job. And so this song appears at the end of the play, and it's where she's making a choice to choose to stay happy, even though her heart's broken and she feels a little bit lost and in a bit of pain. So she's choosing happiness, even though things aren't as good as she'd like. And so the song, to me, is about a clear intention to be happy even when things aren't going well, even when you've experienced some loss, hurt, and pain. And if you pay attention to all the words, she's happy to all forms of happiness, all forms of good. And it is a choice and a focus to stay on the positive and on the good and how wonderful life is. Here's some of the words. Sing me a happy song about robins in spring. Sing me a happy song about a happy ending. Some cheerful roundelay about catching the ring. Sing happy. Sing me a sonnet about rolling in gold. Some peppy medley about rainbows blending. Nothing with phrases saying, you're out in the cold. Sing happy. So the question is, for us, and looking at a level of happiness in our lives, is how do we sing a happier tune? You know, how do we choose to be happier, to make up our minds to be happier? And here are some things. And the first one is, if we're really serious about being happy, the first place to start being happy is to stop doing things that make us unhappy. And that sounds kind of crazy, but contrary to popular belief, the thing that makes us unhappiest in the world is ourselves. We create more unhappiness for ourselves than anything else in our lives. We might think it's our family or the government or the economy, but the truth is we make ourselves more miserable and unhappy than anything else. With our negative thinking, with our level of fears and worries and anxiety, and always dwelling on the past or dwelling on the hurt or dwelling on the negative, that's the reason that we are most unhappy in life. So let's say you had a good day. 20, 30 great things happen for you, you met a bunch of great people, and then one person says something really snarky and mean. Or one thing goes bad, you get a flat tire, or you get a ticket, and then you lie in your bed at night and your head hits the pillow. What do you think about the most? And we think about it over and over again. Even though so many great things happened, we tend to focus on that one negative thing and repeat it in our minds over and over again. The best way to start being happy is to stop doing the things that make you unhappy. Reminds me of that old joke. Guy goes to the doctor and he says, Doc, it hurts when I do this. The doctor says, well, then don't do this. It seems ridiculous, but if it makes you unhappy, stop doing it. So my question is, what in your past are you still dwelling on? What negative thing do you keep focusing on your mind and keep running it over when you're lying in bed at night? What hurtful thing still hurts that you keep reliving. You know, what is it that you think is so horrible and bad that you just can't get your mind off of it? Shakespeare said a really interesting thing in the play Hamlet. He said, "Nothing is either good nor bad, but thinking makes it so." Now, we're the ones who label things bad, wrong, horrible, terrible. You know, we make up all kinds of stories. Life is unfair. Nobody cares. My parents don't care. My family don't care. Leaders don't care. Or I'm not good enough. You can't trust people. Things just go from bad to worse. Not only do we dwell on negative, but we make up a particular story, and then it gets even worse. Then we start looking for evidence to support our story. We think he's a dirty so-and-so. Then he says something. See, I told you. Life is unfair. Oh, see what just happened to me? Life is unfair. And we keep building a story, looking for more support, looking for more evidence to prove it. And you know what happens? We keep telling some stories 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We're telling the same story, building our case about something we think isn't right, unfair, and it keeps making us unhappy. And it's almost like we're saying to ourselves, look, I'm unhappy, and I have every right to be unhappy because life is horrible, and I'm going to prove it to you. And it's like, great, you just proved it, but we're still unhappy. And yet we keep living and keep doing this in that way. So what do we need to stop doing? We need to stop dwelling on the past and the negative. We need to stop labeling and creating and making up stories about how horrible people are and how horrible life is. We need to stop looking for the evidence. And then most importantly, we need to stop retelling the story and over and over again. The thing is, we can't really snuff these things. That's not good, to suppress it. What we do is just notice, oh, there's that story I tell myself about how life is unfair again. There's that story about how I'm not lovable or not good enough, or whatever the story is. You just notice it, and it'll have less and less control over us. It's to not dwell on it. And in the song, she says, no need to remind me that it all fell apart. I need no lyrics singing of stormy weather. There's quite enough around me that's breaking my heart. Sing happy. And the fact is, there are things in our lives that don't go well. But just because they're not going well doesn't mean we dwell on them and use them to actually pull us down and make us even less happy. You know, they did this study about centurions, and they asked them, what are the things that has allowed you to live as long as you have and to live as happy? And of course, besides genetics, here are the 4 things they said. Number 1 was taking care of their health. Number 2, having a positive attitude. Number 3, having good social connection, good friends, a good network of friends. And here is the 4th one, and this was the biggest, is they know how to get over the past. They know how to get over hurt and regret and mistakes. They know how to release pain. They know how to find acceptance and just forgive. Imagine in 100 years, there's a lot of stuff that happens that people say that you got to let go, that you got to release. There's all kinds of things we could dwell on, but getting over it, releasing it, acceptance and forgiveness is the most important thing to move on with our lives and to move on with peace. Because we can't sing a happy song if we keep singing a somebody done somebody wrong song. You can't. You can't sing both songs at the same time. And so the first thing we need to do if we want to be happy and start being happier is to stop doing the things that make us unhappy. The second thing is to realize and to make happiness an inside job. The fact is, it's important to not look outside of ourselves for someone else to make us happy. We always think our boss needs to make us happy, our spouse, kids, everybody's supposed to make us happy, and they're not doing a great job right now. And the truth is, we need to fill our own cups. No one can fill our cups for us. And continually looking outside of ourselves will continually bring us more dissatisfaction, frustration, and unhappiness. The most important thing to realize is that happiness is an inside job. That we need to turn and connect with the very source that makes joy and happiness possible. And it is already within us, and we need to cultivate that. I mean, it says things like, rejoice in the Lord always, or the kingdom of God is within you. That it's there. We just need to turn into it and align and connect to it in a greater way. And doing that, being still and knowing that energy and love of God, not only brings us quietness and peace, it begins to dissolve those things that aren't happy or peaceful or true away from us. It not only calms, but it eventually brings insight and understanding and wisdom and clarity and inspiration. The more we're centered in that intelligence and that love and that energy of God that is always seeking to express more good in us and through us, the happier we're going to be just to be, and not waiting for someone or something to look a particular way to give ourselves permission then to be happy. And one of the things that's great about it is that when things aren't going well, when you know that you're centered in God, it gives you a level of hope. It lets you know that even though things aren't great right now, that things are going to get better, that things will get brighter, that things will work out. You know, because if we aren't able to feel a level of hope, you know, we actually let those things that don't go well rob us of our joy. Here's what it says in the book of John, chapter 16, verse 22. So you have pain now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy away from you. And so the important thing is when you're centered in God, nothing can take your joy away. No one can take your joy away, because when you're anchored in the source of joy, that all the outer things won't shake you or bring you down. And the fact is, every one of us wants hope. We want to know everything's going to be okay. We want to know that things are going to work out. Here's the words that she uses. Tell me tomorrow's going to be peaches and cream. Assure me that the clouds are lined with silver lining. Say how you've realized an impossible dream. Sing me a happy song. Give me a hallelujah and get up and shout. Tell me the sun is shining around the corner. That when we aren't going through a great period, we want to know that it's going to get better. We want to know. And what hope does for us when we're anchored in God, it gives us faith and trust, but it helps us to live with some optimism, some enthusiasm, and a trust and an awareness that things will get better. And we all go through tough times. That's not a big deal. But the question is, are you living also with hope and optimism that things will get better? I mean, heck, even the sun has a sinking feeling every day. But the next morning, it still rises and it shines. And so when we know that happiness is an inside job, it gives us a level of peace and clarity, but it also gives us hope and optimism, even in the times that things aren't going well. The next one, and one of my favorite things about the song, is it is so affirming. I mean, this is one bold song where she is claiming and asking for exactly what it is she wants. She is choosing to be happy. Here are the words of some of the first lines. Is sing me a happy song about robins and happy endings. Sing me a sonnet. Tell me tomorrow's going to be good. You know, play me a madrigal. Give me a hallelujah. She ain't shy about what she wants. Isn't she clear? She's affirmative and she is bold, knowing that she's going to choose happy. That she's going to choose the positive. She is going to choose, a more joyful experience of life. And I love that sometimes we need to ask for what it is we need and to ask for what we want. Ask God for what we want. Ask for the people in and around us what we want. And sometimes we need to be reminded that everything's going to be okay by someone that we care about. Sometimes we need some help focusing on the positive. There's a wonderful line that says, you have to do it for yourself, and you can't do it alone. You have to do it for yourself, and you can't do it alone. Happiness is an inside job. You have to do it for yourself, and we are here to help each other. I think I've told you this several times, that for many years, like an entire decade, I would call my mother on Saturday night, the night before my talk, and say, Mom, tell me I'm going to do a good job. Tell me that things are going to be okay. And I knew that at a higher level, but my little boy wanted a little comfort, Mama, to say everything's going to be okay, son. It might have been silly, but those 10 years, it worked. And every single one of us needs to know ourselves well enough, because sometimes you need to say, you know what, I need a hug. You know what, I need someone to just listen to me. You know what? I think I need to get some professional help. We need to figure ourselves out and find out what is it we need and ask for it. Like she is singing and asking boldly for what she needs to feel connected and happy. Every one of us needs to do that for ourselves. We need to be our best friend, our best coach, our best support. Scripture says, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And it means that when we come together, we multiply and magnify that energy and presence of spirit. Jesus had 12 people supporting him. It is good to pray with a chaplain. It's good. This church is a supportive mechanism and community. It helps uplift us. You don't have to see like geese fly in that V formation, and because they fly together in that formation, they fly 70% further than if they flew alone. That we are here to support each other, but we need to know how to ask for what we want and to affirm and to claim that. And then that support will lift us to an even higher. You have to do it for yourself, but you can't do it alone. All right, the last one is then you got to be happy. You got to practice happy. You got to sing happy. And so, it tells us in Scripture all over, this is the day that the Lord has made. So let us rejoice and be glad in it. That every day we should be singing happy. It says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons for us to be happy and celebrate, and we need to live it, to share it, and express it. So Friday, I was at Village Inn having breakfast, sitting in a booth. There was an older couple sitting at a table a little further away. I just kind of saw them. But so eating going on, and those folks started leaving. I noticed at the corner of my eye, the older guy that was at the table, he was on a walker, and he's probably like 80s, mid-80s, and he's kind of hunched over, and he's kind of pushing his walker and coming directly at me. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he doesn't realize he has to turn to go around the booth, coming right at me. So I'm trying to stay engaged in my conversation, but my eye's noticing this older guy is coming at me like a train. Okay, not a fast train, but a train. So he's coming, and as he gets closer, I'm like with all kinds of things going through my head. Then he finally comes and he stops. He looks at me. He says, "You know what a tick is?" He said, "Like on a dog." He said, "Like on a dog." I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you call a tick on the moon?" I said, "I don't know. What do you call a tick on the moon?" He said, "A lunatic." And then he kept walking. I'm thinking, why would this dude, just come by and tell me this joke? And I was just able to give him a little slap on the side and just tell him thanks. But there's a guy who decided to sing happy. A stranger out of the... And then Tuesday, I went to have a cortisone shot in my shoulder because it's been hurting. And I remember the doctor from last year, his name is Dr. Francis Tyndall, said how positive and amazing he was last year. I just loved him so much. So I'm waiting in my room, and then I hear a door open, and I hear him through the door, and he says, "Hello, ladies. How are you today?" And I'm like, oh, I just love this guy. So he comes into my room. The first thing I said, "Francis Tyndall, I just love you, man. And my thing I love you the most is I love your attitude of how you love people." Do you know he's been an orthopedic surgeon for 50 years? He's 79 years old. Thank God he stopped operating 5 years ago. But but I literally spent the first 2 or 3 minutes telling him how impressed I was with how much he cares and loves the people, and what a difference. That was only the second time I met him. I met him a year and a half ago for the first injection, and I told him what a lasting impact his joyfulness and attitude has made on me, and it was amazing. The only thing I didn't like is as he was injecting me and I was screaming, it doesn't bother him for some reason. The only thing that got me concerned, he says, "I'm not sure if I actually got it in the right place, but if it hurts, just come back again." I thought, he really said that. And then Friday, I went to the Phoenix Suns against a Toronto Raptors game. And I had a Raptors a T-shirt, but I had it underneath my shirt because I didn't want to seem disloyal. And so I started clapping when beautiful dunk by Kawhi Leonard. And then I noticed an usher, an elderly lady in her 80s, probably 80, started walking towards me. And I'm thinking, what kind of week am I having that seniors are like rushing to me? And she literally comes over with a serious face and says, "You do know who you're supposed to be cheering for, don't you?" Praise God, she flashed a big old smile. And literally for the rest of the evening came back, we had some beautiful banter together. In fact, next time I go, she told me she's in section 123. I'm going to go to section 123. And I'm giving you these examples because here's a stranger in Village Inn. Here's a doctor. And here's an usher at a basketball game. But every one of them sang they're happy in a different way. Sometimes we think it's got to be a big deal. But I tell you, it's a big deal what they did. Because they brightened my day with a beautiful smile and just letting their light shine a little bit brighter. And one of the things about being happy, I've come to realize, it isn't just about feeling good. But I think the thing that makes us feel happy is being alive, feeling fully alive. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Joseph Campbell. He said, "People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think what we are seeking is an experience of being fully alive." Being fully alive doesn't mean that we always feel good. It means that we feel engaged, that we have opened our heart to feel what's going on. So I had a tough week last week. Monday evening, late meeting, it was tough. Tuesday, I taught late. So Wednesday coming, I'm feeling a little bit exhausted emotionally. And instead of going home and crashing, somebody encouraged me to go see a play that Rusty Farrakhan, our Rusty, is starring in called Fun Home. Anybody seen Fun Home? Okay, one. Okay, so I thought, Fun Home. This could be a good thing for my week, so I go there. It was a gut-wrenching, raw, emotional play about the struggles of a family, of an individual father's struggle, of a daughter's struggle, of the wife's struggle. It was excruciating. I cried like crazy. And there was a scene with the father and the daughter driving, and they both want to share. The daughter wants to share. And they're both hurting. And you see two people who love each other who just can't say what's in their heart. And it was heartbreaking. And so here I'm bawling. And the funny thing is that, in a way, I felt more peace. I felt a catharsis to understand and see the human condition sometimes, that even when we love people, we can't always get it out in a way. That sometimes we miss and disconnect, and you realize that each one loves each other but just doesn't know how to get it out. And the tears, at the end of it, strangely, I felt some peace because of understanding. I felt some peace of releasing my own stuff. I saw Rusty at the end of the play. I said, "Rusty, how do you do this 8 nights or 7 nights a week when it's so deep?" And Rusty had lots of energy at the end. And he said, "It's hard, but he's able to get it and just let it out." And the point I'm trying to make is at the end of that thing, I felt more alive. Because sometimes in life, you got to feel. If you really want to live and feel alive, there's things that we go unconscious over and dormant and deny and pretend, but sometimes you just got to open your heart and just feel. And thank God for that play because it helped make me feel. And as if I didn't have enough already, I decided to go see the Freddie Mercury, the Queen movie. Anybody saw that? And that brought me tears to see all the struggles that he went through, the heartbreak of the love of his life, Mary Austin. I didn't realize he's Indian. I thought he was like Middle Eastern because his name was Farouk. He actually grew up in India and then went to England at 18 and blah, blah, blah. And all the fun people made. You remember his teeth? Kind of pronounced. Well, what happened? He was born with 4 extra incisors. People were brutally mean growing up. But you know what was interesting about it? Having 4 extra incisors created more space in his mouth that gave him greater range to sing. It is because of those 4 teeth that he actually was able to sing even greater than he could have sang without it. All the resistance he got from the record companies, his sexual orientation, and to see all that, it was just touching and heart-opening. Sometimes we look at people's lives and think, oh, they're so easy. Nobody's as easy. But because they're willing to face it and feel it. Do you imagine if you'd given up because people call him Bucky? Could you imagine if he'd given up, and not broken away from some of his family stuff? if he'd not allowed himself to be as flamboyant as he was, what the world would have lost. And the point is, sometimes we need to open ourselves fully to all of it to be fully alive. And it isn't just about feeling good, happy. It's about being fully alive. There's a quote I've got, but it's too long. But since I have the microphone, I'm going to tell you anyway. Here's what Joseph Campbell, to me, this defines happiness. Here's what he says. The goal of life is to make the beat of your heart match the beat of the universe. To match your nature with nature. Life has no meaning, but each of us has meaning, and we bring that meaning to life. It is a waste to be asking the question when you are the answer. We are as happy as we make up our minds to be. So let's make up our minds to not sing a sad song or a somebody done somebody wrong song. If we are here to sing our song and vibrate with the heartbeat of the universe, let's choose to sing our song and let's choose to sing happy. God bless you.